The harp and the strings, the tambourine and the flute and wine are in their feasts. But they do not regard the work of the Lord, nor consider the operation of his hands. Therefore my people have gone into captivity, because they honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Therefore Sheol has enlarged itself and opened its mouth beyond measure. Their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he who is jubilant shall descend into it. People shall be brought down, each man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and God who is holy shall be hallowed in righteousness. Then the lambs shall feed in their pasture, in the waste places of the fat ones strangers shall eat.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we ended with the question, is the problem here actually the alcohol? Is that actually what's being condemned? And it broke again. Awesome. Is that actually what the condemnation is?
No, it's actually them leaving God.
Okay. The alcohol is the substitute substance, but it's actually not about the alcohol itself. The alcohol is not a good thing, and it's rightly condemned in its own right. But the problem is they have forgotten God. They what does it say? They do not, verse 12, they do not regard the deeds of the Lord or see the work of his hands. And so they're going to be taken away due to lack of knowledge. How bad is it going to get? This is kind of an extended woe. It's kind of surprising that this one's this long. How bad is it going to get?
Sheol is going to open up and swallow them all.
Okay, Sheol is going to open up and swallow them all. Estelle, what were you going to say?
Till they were taken literally into captivity.
Okay.
They were no more as a nation.
You're going to be driven into exile. You're going to be swallowed up in Sheol. Even your honorable, it's not just your poor that are going to be hungry, is it? Even the honorable, even the top echelons of society, you guys are going to go hungry. I'm going to let it get really bad. Everyone's going to be brought low to the point where nomads are going to wander among the ruins of your cities. And that's why we put that picture up last time of Detroit. You know, Detroit's gone feral. It's returned back to pasture land just within sight of downtown. And grazing flocks are going to wander through your city streets. That's how bad it's going to get. Yeah.
And I'm still intrigued with the idea that everybody was going to suffer, but the righteous go ahead and do the right thing anyway. You're still going to suffer, but do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And eventually you will be part of the remnant that God will bless.
Yes, and he is 5, 6, and 7 is starting to expand upon that idea. Right now we're getting very tiny glimpses of that thread of hope that we've been talking about. It's not much yet. It's a verse here, a couple verses there. It's not much. And the lesson is, even from Isaiah, the lesson is take your lumps, so to speak. They're going to be okay, but that doesn't mean life's going to be perfect, which is actually a pretty good lesson for us. That just because God's going to take care of us doesn't mean we're never not. That we will never have aches and pains. That we're never going to have problems. That's not what God promises. And this is the way God has dealt with even his faithful people throughout history is evidence enough that the prosperity gospel, the health and wealth thing is a load of bunk. So, okay, good point. Anything else on this? Whoa. Okay. The next one, let's go ahead and reread. Can someone read? We read through 17? Can someone read 18 to 23 for us? Or reread the rest of these woes?
Woe to those who draw iniquity with cords of vanity, and sin as if with a cart rope, that say, let him make speed and hasten his work, that we may see it. And let the counsel of the Holy One of Israel draw near and come, that we may know it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight. Woe to men mighty at drinking wine. Woe to men valiant for mixing intoxicating drink, who justify the wicked for a bribe and take away justice for the righteous man, from the righteous man.
All right, thank you. Okay, so number 3 is verses 18 and 19. What's this woe? Who's he condemning this time? It's a little bit of a weird one.
Well, the New King James said, those who draw iniquity with cords of vanity.
Right, with cords of vanity or falsehood, and draw sin as with a cart rope or something similar. It's a little strange. So we got to dig into this one a little bit. Are they doing this by accident?
Deceivers, intentionally.
Right. They are intentionally attaching themselves and carrying around this stuff. They are. It's not they lashed their donkey to the cart. They are carrying this thing around. They are lashed to iniquity. They are absolutely bound up voluntarily to this heavy load that is wickedness. Right? Yeah, they're absolutely they're doing it on purpose, and they're asking it of God. Right? They're asking a question. What are they asking? I mean, she's got the right idea. Where's your power? Oh, let's get this over with. God said He was going to do something. I don't see it. I don't see anything. We went over this in. Was this in? I've lost my place in my notes. I didn't write it down. We went over this in Ezekiel. They do the same thing in Ezekiel. We talked about that last year. Like, everything is as it ever has been. There's never been any judgment. There's not going to be any judgment. And in Ezekiel, it's more along the lines of God is dead, or there is no God, and that's not a phrase we haven't heard recently either. So yeah, it's a long. Let's get this over with. Let's see what this big bad God can do.
Yeah, this is blasphemy on the highest order here. This is a direct challenge to God, and it doesn't get any worse than this. Really and truly, it doesn't.
No.
You say you're God, show me.
Yeah, you say you're God. You say you're going to punish us. I'm doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a come and get me moment, and it really is. It really is blasphemous. And again, we talked about these woes. These are not mutually exclusive. They kind of a lot of them are pretty well bundled together. So they're gonna, if they exhibit one of these, they're probably exhibiting more than one of these. Especially these couple rapid fire ones that we just read about. Anything else on that one? The harness to sin? Yes.
I think it's kind of like a manipulation or a deceivement from the works of Satan. How he uses manipulation and deceivement with people.
How else do you voluntarily get them to go? I mean, how do you voluntarily get somebody to drag an ox cart around? They tied themselves to it. They did it voluntarily. They were absolutely deceived. It's a much more malignant version of Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, of whitewashing the picket fence. It's that, but on a much more severe and dangerous degree. Absolutely, good point. Okay, so what's the next one? We have number 4. I should have written these things up, and I forgot to. Number 4 is just verse 20. Which one's this one? I mean, it really is tied to the previous one pretty closely.
Call good evil and evil good.
It's backwards day forever for them. Evil's good, good's bad, bad's good.
Seems like so much of this is so applicable to today.
Yes. Are these people confused? Are they mixed up? Are they confused? I didn't know that murder was a bad thing and that, righteousness was a good thing. Nick, and then him. He talks a lot.
Well, that's what you just said with the previous woe, that they've tied themselves to this deceit. And they know it's wrong, but they're toting it along
Yes. Chip?
No, there's just a lack of moral distinction here, where they purposely, they purpose in their heart to turn things backwards.
Yeah. Does anyone in their right mind prefer bitter things over sweet things? I don't think it's possible.
I don't want to slam mental disorders by agreeing with you, because nobody would do that. Why
No. Short of actual disease, yeah, sure. Short of actual disease, no, you're not going to prefer the bad things over the good. These people have made that they're rejecting the plain truth, and they are buying into the deceit. I mean, they're going in with eyes wide open. God makes it plain to us in the New Testament specifically that He's never going to give us any kind of temptation that we can't overcome, that we can't handle, right? There's always a way of escape. That's always going to happen. This isn't something that God would allow, that you're literally not allowed to know the truth or understand. That's not God's purpose, is to do that. So, all right. I'm stumbling over it because it's actually that simple. It's just that obvious that I'm striving for more words and there are no more words. It's just light is light, and that's a good thing. Okay, preaching to the choir. I know. All right, number 5, the next one, verse 21. The smart Alex? Okay. All right, they're smart Alex. Okay, they're clever or wise in their own eyes. Again, these couple are very, very closely related, right? They are wise in their own eyes. They are they think pretty highly of their own opinions. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with a person that thinks so highly of their own opinion? Yes?
I think at that point you're not apt to ask questions anymore. You think you have them all. Without asking questions, you're not seeking the truth.
Yeah. It becomes very difficult to see when you're wrong.
Well, you're not wrong.
Yes. Very, very precisely. At this point, you're just not wrong. I'm dealing with a problem at work where I've got a boss who just thinks he knows more than me. He thinks I'm wrong every time. He asked me a question. I emailed him the answer. I provided him the link with the actual answer in it. And he sent me back a one-word response 5 minutes later. Well, that can't be possible. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Aaron, aren't you very stupid? Why do I have to put up with you anymore? And I was fed up. I'm like, if he would have clicked the link, he would have seen the answer. It would have been right there. But he knows the answer already. He is wise in his own eyes. He knows everything. And that was about the 50th time in a week that I'd had to deal with this exact same problem. So, I was pretty up to here. So I went to my immediate boss, because he's my boss's boss, and I was like, hey, can you back me up on this? I can't deal with this anymore. I'm going to lose my mind. I had to leave work early. It was that bad. They're just not okay. And he backed me. Yeah, he's like, yeah, Aaron's right. Click the link. Anyway, Nick, if you're watching. Sorry, different Nick, actually. I look over that way, and it's both Nicks. Anyway.
Give y'all some private. If everybody would step out.
Yeah, sorry. My boss's name is Nick as well. Anyway. All right, so yeah, they are convinced they're not wrong. They're convinced they're right, and therefore they're going to stop looking to see if they're wrong. I mean, you're probably occasionally frustrated with Chip for saying, hey, if I'm wrong, let me know, when he comes up and does these sermons. You don't do it every week, but every once in a while, and I'm just striving for the truth. If I'm ever wrong, point it out to me. The preacher phrase is, you be my friend if. That's a trope that we all know very well. And that is to combat this very problem. And convincing them that they are wrong it's a fool's errand. Not preachers, people like this. Anyway, okay. Yeah, they think they own the truth. That's really they own the truth. No, the truth is mine. It comes from my head. At that point, it can turn into that. Where it's not just that I know the truth, it's that I am the truth. And that, again, is blasphemous for different reasons. And I think that's an interesting direction to think about this thing. Certainly, if you created something from scratch, you kind of do own the truth about it, right? You made this thing. I know every little thing about it. You put together a machine with your bare hands. You own that thing. You in some sense, you are the truth for that thing. You actually own the truth for that. And we got to make sure we realize that's not how it goes with spiritual matters. We don't get to own the truth like that, like we would with, something we built or something we put together ourselves.
The arrogance on steroids.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's a form of arrogance. Absolutely.
Beyond arrogance, really.
Yeah. Yes.
Would that be like Joe Biden saying I am the Democrat one?
I think some other Democrats would have a problem with that.
That's what he said.
Okay. I had not heard. Head in sand on as much of that as possible. All right. Okay, anything else on that one? Because this next one's interesting. The last one. All right, the last one's fun, and it had me fooled for a minute, but, recovered after. But what's this last one? Verse 22 and 23. What was that, Gail? Justify the wicked.
Looking at the old one, heroes of drinking wine.
Heroes of drink. That's an amazing phrase. The heroes of drinking.
Valiant men.
The valiant men at strong drink. So this one's really interesting. I got to this one. It started scratching my head. What in the world does this have to do with all these other things? So verses 22 and 23. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and valiant men in mixing strong drink, who acquit the guilty for a bribe and deprive the innocent of his right. How do these two things connect? They do, but it is not immediately obvious. And I had to Google some. So here, it's not about heroes. Turn to Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 isn't that far away. We know Proverbs 31 for one reason. I'm confusing Chip. He's not turning. He thinks he knows everything. Proverbs 31. Okay, we think about the excellent woman that's in the second half of the chapter. Yes?
Well, Proverbs 31 tells us exactly what this all is. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Proverbs 31, verses 4 and 5. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, or for rulers to take strong drink, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed and pervert the right of all the afflicted. So he's not talking, hero, it makes for a great turn of phrase, the heroes of drink. But it's not about heroes, it's about the ruling classes. What happens when the ruling classes love their booze too much?
It's a perversion of justice. It's a perversion of truth is what it boils down to.
How many...
Who was trying to put his wife and come in and parade around and say, clear it away.
Azaretus,
yeah, that would have been, yes,
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
I think.
Vashti was the one who wouldn't come around.
They were having a big drinking party, and he thought it was a great idea to get the queen out here to parade around, and she said, "No, you're a drunken fool. Leave me alone." And put her away, whatever that winds up meaning. Yes. Okay. So it's about drinking rulers, and they need to maintain their sobriety in order to maintain justice. How many times do we read articles about Judge so-and-so, getting caught drunk in his chambers, or a sheriff drinking on the job, or like it happens more frequently than it should. And it's a real problem. So, yeah. Okay, that one was very, very interesting to me, and I had to go look it up. Okay, anything else on the 6 woes? We're really already a half hour into this thing? No, 25 minutes into it. Thank you, everyone. All right. Okay, so the next question is question 6. That is in this same section we just read. While Judah goes into captivity, what would be its effect on Jehovah? How does God wind up in the midst of all this? Verse 16 it says. Okay, no problem with God. Exalted and shown holy to whom? Or by whom? I think that's the important part of, obviously God claiming his holiness is an important thing, but who's going to see that he's holy? Who's going to see that he is exalted? Who is going to exalt him? Not do the exalting, but hold him in high esteem. Who are we talking about?
It would be the remnant, though.
Okay, the remnant. All right. Verse 19 specifically says, all right, I wrote down. Oh, yeah, verse 19, right? Verse 19 is this blasphemous, well, you said you were going to curse us, come on and get it over with. That means that everybody knew the blessings and the curses, didn't they? Was anybody within the kingdom ignorant of, at least in general, what these blessings and curses were that God had pronounced in perpetuity to his people? Everybody knew.
They were supposed to know.
Everyone was supposed to know, and according to verse 19, even the godless, sacrilegious ones knew. They knew what was said, and they said, bring it. They knew. Everyone, so yes, his people, both the remnant who are going to be salvaged out of this mess, and I think salvaged is probably the best way to say it. They're maintained and they're encapsulated, but it's salvage implies the rough road that Nick was talking about. It's not going to be a perfect road for them. And also the wicked, anyone else going to know? What were God's designs? Was it just for the Israelites? No. I think it's to absolutely everyone. The outside observers. We haven't talked about it in Isaiah yet, and I don't remember if Isaiah brings it up, but other prophets have definitely brought up one of the reasons why God is punishing both the northern and southern kingdoms is so that who will see that he is God and that he is holy? The nations round about. So that the whole world knows that God is holy. And he himself also, he's going to show himself to be holy because he can't do anything else. And that he's strict, that he is righteous, right? That's what righteousness is. He can't be righteous and not do this because he said he would. Not that he's caught himself in a oath or something that he doesn't want to fulfill. That would be a human way of thinking about it. And also us. Those in the future. We get to see the mercy and the severity of God, because how many years has this been going on at this point?
God didn't change the rules. He gave them the rules.
That's right. God gave them the rules way, way, way back when. You could talk about the Mosaic Law. You could talk about Joshua or Moses or Abraham or Noah or Adam. The rules haven't really changed this whole time. The principles surely haven't changed this whole time. And it's been thousands and thousands of years, and here they are still having the same problems, and he's finally going to do something about it. He certainly has been long-suffering. And so we can see his justice. We can also see his mercy, that he certainly gave them enough chances. Yes. And if you're not here for the Sunday morning Bible class on Romans, you absolutely should be. See, I'll give you a plug. Do I need to say it to camera? All right. Yes, very, very good point. My cheesy remarks notwithstanding. Okay, anything else on question 6? All right. Question number 7 is going to be verses 24 through 30. Can someone read 24 through 30 for us?
Therefore, as the fire devours the stubble, and the flame consumes the chaff, so their root will be rottenness, and their blossom will ascend like dust. Because they have rejected the law of the Lord of hosts, and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. How far do you want to go?
Through the end of the chapter.
Okay, sorry. Therefore the anger of the Lord is aroused against his people. He has stretched out his hand against them and stricken them, and the hills tremble. Their carcasses were as refuse in the midst of the streets. For all this his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. He will lift up a banner to the nations from afar, and will whistle to them from the end of the earth. Surely they shall come with speed, swiftly. No one will be weary, or stumble among them. No one will slumber or sleep, nor will the belt on their loins be loosed, nor the strap of their sandals be broken. Whose arrows are sharp, and all their bows bent, their horses' hooves will seem like flint, and their wheels like a whirlwind. Their roaring will be like a lion. They will roar like young lions. Yes, they will roar. And they hold of the prey, and lay hold of the prey. They will carry it away safely, and no one will deliver. In that day they will roar against them, like the roaring of the sea. And if one looks to the land, behold, darkness and sorrow, and the light is darkened by the clouds.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so question number 7. Why would Jehovah surely send Israel to captivity in a foreign land? Verse 24.
Because the Israelites had rejected him.
Okay, it's pretty plain at the bottom of 24. They have rejected the law of the Lord of hosts and despised the word of the Holy One of Israel. It's a pretty good summary, Nick.
Almost a twist of the knife that he's using the wicked nations to punish them, and it's almost insulting to them as well as a physical punishment.
Yes, and there's whole prophets about that aspect of it. Absolutely. All right, how do we know we're talking about captivity here? The question presumes it. How do we know we're talking about captivity from this passage? The end of verse 25. He says, For all this, his anger has not turned away, and his hand is stretched out still. This is not final judgment. So we can be sure that this is not final judgment. So it is safe to say that we're talking about captivity. Verse 26, he's going to raise a signal, or he's going to whistle for the nations from afar off, from the ends of the earth. It's pretty plain we're talking about captivity here. And what do these nations look like? How are they described?
Lions.
They're described like, okay, so one of the descriptions is the lions. Okay, and so yeah.
That was your picture.
That was my picture at the beginning of class. I'm glad somebody noticed.
You don't have to go.
Somebody noticed. Yes, there he is. There's the lion. I had a worse picture, but it was actually a little bit too much worse. So it was terrifying. These giant muscle-bound lions attacking each other. It was.
Those teeth are pretty wicked
It was,
right there.
well, the other one was worse, and I was like, "You can't put that picture in here." I'm like, okay, dear. Fine. We have to. All right. So yeah, lions is one of the images. What's the other one? The sea? Okay, roaring like the sea. All right, so yes, what is this? What is the lion? What or who does the lion symbolize?
I was thinking of Jimmy. We got to bring up Jimmy. Jimmy was this wonderful man, and the ravening, roaring lion. He would always say the rowing lion, rowing.
Row.
And so yes, we got the sea and the lion.
And the rowing lion. Yes, yeah. Jimmy's a good guy. Yes, it's an image I can't get out of my head every time I hear it. Right. We're talking about a nation. Which nation?
Yeah, the nations that God will call. Specifically, it will be Babylon.
Right. First and foremost, we're talking Babylon. It's not just them. And they are described as this apex predator. Is there anything greater than the lion? Not really. He's the king of the jungle, and he's an apex predator. He is described as being poised and gloating over his prey. He has killed it, and he just stands there, trotting off with it, not worrying that anybody's going to try and take it from him. Nobody's going to approach the lion. It's just not going to happen. It's utter dominance. How does it describe their dominance? What did he talk about with their when they come?
Just symbolize raw power.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. He describes the people that are going to come. How does he describe the people that are going to come? They're going to be sloppy.
They're going to be swift. They're going to be well clad. They're going to be ready for battle. They're not going to be sleepy. Their arrows are sharp. They're ready to fire the arrows. The horses are their instruments of one of their instruments of movement. I mean, it's this force that's coming towards them.
Yes, it is this pinnacle of military might that is driving their way. It's not haphazard. It's well-ordered, well-oiled machine of death. That's what they are. That's what's coming, and they're merciless. They're focused. They're polished. They are sharp and ready to roll. They got high technology. When it talks about the chariots and the horses, it seems ridiculous to us, but that was when all these wars were fought with infantry. A horse and a chariot is a pretty deadly thing. These are not the raiding parties of the Edomites, right? Because they've been nibbled at for a long time now. They've had the Philistines nibbling at them for ages and ages, and they've had the Edomites come up and nibble at them and raid, and they've had these pests bother them. This is not a pest. This is overwhelming force. So, that's that. He is making that abundantly clear to them because they may try to save face and we've driven back the Edomites 15 times in the last 50 years or whatever it would have been. We'll turn these back, and he's stopping that before it even gets going. That no, you're going to be chewed up and spat out. Pretty simply.
Darkness and distress.
Darkness and distress. He's not leaving them any hope this time. Right. There is no hope this time. And that's because we're really talking about a physical judgment. And so, the remnant is going to be swept up in this physical judgment of the nation states of the North and the South, truly. Okay, anything else on those? Question number 8. We're done with the chapter. Question number 8 gets into chapter 6. Let's go ahead and read the first 5 verses. Can someone read the first 5 or the first 7 for us? I'm sorry.
In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphims, each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly. And one cried unto the other, and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of
7, please.
7. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thine sin purged.
All right, thank you. So, when did God call Isaiah to prophesy?
The year that King Uzziah died.
All right, in the year of Uzziah's death. So, quick Uzziah recap. Can anyone remember which one Uzziah was? It's okay if you can't. I probably couldn't if I was asked on the spot. Uzziah is he's kind of the first one. So Isaiah starts somewhere during Uzziah's reign. The book of Isaiah, we'll get to that. All right, so he was a good king at the beginning. And he's the king where once he became militarily secure, he decided he no longer needed God, and he started to become evil. He was the guy that went directly into the temple and went to the altar and decided he was going to burn some incense on his own. And what happened? He was struck with leprosy till the day he died, and his son ruled in his place. So some good and some bad there. This is who we're talking about. It's a little weird that we're getting this call in chapter 6 when we've been talking about all these prophecies for the first 5 chapters. What have we been doing if he's just now getting called to prophesy? How do we get prophecy before he's been called to prophesy? It's kind of a little backwards and weird in my head. The content of these visions from the first 5 chapters seem to include all of Uzziah's reign as well. And certainly a lot of the things we've been talking about apply to Uzziah himself and his turning his back on God himself. And so it seems like these first 5 chapters were placed in front of chapter 6 for that kind of chronology effect, that yes, these are Isaiah's prophecies, but his actual call to prophecy didn't happen until Uzziah's death, and it seems to be slotted into chapter 6. You cannot trust the Old Testament to necessarily be chronologically ordered. If you don't believe me, go read Daniel. Daniel's the worst offender that I'm aware of you've got it jumping forward and backward in time as you go through the chapters. He made those prophecies later in his life, but they apply earlier, so they were ordered before when it was written down, it seems. Okay. Clear as mud? Did I cover it well enough for your tastes? Okay. All right. He didn't want to have to explain it either. Right. So it's kind of a summary of the state of affairs when Isaiah starts. It's another way to think about it. The first 5 chapters just kind of, here's where we are. It ain't good. Okay, question. No, I'm not even on the questions anymore. What did I do? Question number 9. What did Isaiah see in his vision of Jehovah? So what's he see?
Seraphim.
He sees what? Sorry?
Seraphim.
All right, he sees seraphim. What else?
The Lord sitting on his throne, lifted high, the train of his robe filling the temple.
Okay, he sees a throne scene. He's got a throne scene, and God's there, and his robe, the end of his robe fills the entire temple or the entire palace. And he sees seraphim waiting on him. Seraphim are kind of the courtiers. They're there to do the king's bidding. Okay, so that's what he sees. Question number 10 is exciting. Not everybody all at once. What's a seraphim?
Yes, 6 winged beings with faces, and feet, and flying ability.
Okay.
And they were also vocal.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, they could talk, and Isaiah could understand them. Right. So we don't know a whole lot about them. We did cover them in our class on angelic beings. That was a couple of years ago. So are they angels? No. Do they belong in the category of heavenly beings to which angels also belong? Yes. So that is why a lot of times you'll get people calling them angels. They're not.
Seraphim and cherubim are not angels,
No.
but they are created beings, created spiritual beings,
Yes.
like angels.
Yes. So,
Created spiritual beings.
all right. This is essentially the only passage that we've got about them. You could maybe look at Revelation 4, and some people think it references seraphim, but there are some differences. They got similar job descriptions. That's it. That's all we've got. They got 6 wings. For some reason, they cover their feet. They cover their face, and then they fly with all their different wings. It's a little. It's a very strong image. They got hands and feet. They seem man-like enough, unlike the cherubim that have a whole bunch of different faces from a whole bunch of different beasts. They're a little less human-like. And so what is... we'll get to their job later. Sorry, I included my notes from that class in here real quick. So, okay, we are actually out of time. Did the thing just stop? No, it's still kicking. Okay, we're done here. We'll pick up at question number 11 next time. Thank you, everybody. All right. Throne Scene Part 2 next week.